这样能正着，还是不会撞鼻子是吧？还是得侧是吧？好，那我走，先走走，一走，先走一点，就拉住他，不用那么多。行了，停。
哎呀，走，赶紧走，
一会儿就走一步。
你点都切不动啊！
I've gone too far. I can reach into your heart. Know that.
If there's one thing that never fails to set the mood on a nighttime set, it's definitely the joke between Dylan Wang and Bai Lu. As someone who has watched them work together several times, I can say one thing. They are both like positive energy magnets that never run out of material to flirt with each other. That evening, we were preparing to shoot the most important romantic scene for the upcoming episode, the kiss scene that the fans were waiting for. But who would have thought, a night that should be full of silence and tension instead turned into an endless laughter. Night atmosphere on the set. The clock strikes 8 p.m. The air around the place began to cool. The lights of the set flashed softly, creating a golden glow that highlighted the faces of the two main stars of the play, Dylan Wang and Bai Lu. Outside the screen, everything seemed calm. But behind the camera, the crew was busy preparing for a scene that he said should go smooth, gentle, and soulful. I stood behind the monitor while holding the clipboard, paying attention to every movement. Beside me, the assistant director whispered, "They have to be really serious tonight. This scene is vital. Do not fail." I just nodded a little. But in my heart I laughed. If he meant not to fail, it applies to those two people. Yes. Let's hope a miracle happens tonight. A warm-up that ends in laughter. Before the take began, the director called them both. Dylan, Bai Lu, please get into your characters first. It's an emotional scene. No kidding, yeah. Bai Lu bowed obediently. Yes, sir. Dylan pretended to be serious while patting his chest. I promise you, there will be no fights tonight. 5 minutes later, the promise vanished like the dew of night. When they stood opposite each other, staring at each other under the light of the lamp, Dylan suddenly dried his eyes like a child. Bai Lu held back a laugh while trying to remain professional. But from the expression on his face, I could tell. His defenses were beginning to crumble. As soon as the cameras started rolling, they began to clash dialogue. Everything seemed fine, until Dylan mispronounced one important phrase. Instead of saying, "You know I can't let you go," Dylan instead said with a super serious expression, "You know I can't let go of your bubble tea." Instantly, the location exploded in laughter. Bai Lu immediately covered her face with her hands while laughing in pieces. The director nodded his head. "Dylan, this is a serious scene. Why are you on a variety show?" Dylan still laughed as he raised his hand. "Excuse me, sir, perhaps because the night is cold, I need the warmth of humor." Bai Lu looked at him while still laughing. "The warmth of humor? You need the warmth of the script, Dylan. Chemistry too lively." After several failed takes due to laughter, the director finally decided to give them 5 minutes to calm down. But those 5 minutes were 5 minutes of fun. Dylan sat in his chair, looking at Bai Lu, who was fixing her lipstick. He lifted up his body and said, "You know what? Your lipstick's gonna be a casualty tonight." Bai Lu turned quickly. "What do you mean, Dylan?" "The kissing scene. If you fail, your lipstick will be a victim twice." I choked on a drink in the corner. The makeup assistant who heard the conversation immediately looked at them with an expression mixed between amused and confused. Bai Lu tried to hold back a smile, but failed miserably. "Then don't fail, let my lipstick be safe," she replied casually. "Deal," Dylan said with a thumbs up. "But if I laugh again, you change. I apologize to the director." "How dare you bet?" "Dare." They high-fived each other like two old friends making a silly deal. I don't know which is stronger, their romantic chemistry or the chemistry of jokes that really made the set could not calm down. The director says, "Rolling, camera, action." The scene begins with Dylan walking slowly towards Bai Lu. Soft background music begins to sound from the speakers, making the atmosphere even deeper. Bai Lu closed her eyes, preparing for a romantic moment. Dylan approached, his pace calmed down, and all the crew began to hold their breath. Half a second before their lips almost met, Bai Lu suddenly laughed slowly. Dylan laughed along. Cut. The director took a deep breath. Why again now? Bai Lu pointed at Dylan. He smiled first, sir. Dylan defended himself. I smile because he looks so funny when he's nervous. The director tried to hold back a smile. It's funny, but it's not a variety show, son. And behind the camera, all the crew laughed again. After several failed attempts, the two of them finally tried to focus again. The lights are set slightly dimmed, making the atmosphere even more intimate. Bai Lu took a deep breath, trying to focus on the script. Dylan looks calmer this time, at least from the outside. Camera rolling. Dylan slowly approached, his hand almost touching Bai Lu's cheek. And just before that crucial moment, Dylan whispered softly, "You know, these night lights look really beautiful, or maybe you made them beautiful." Bai Lu immediately lowered her head and laughed loudly. "Cut again!" exclaimed the director, patting himself on the head. This time the laughter sounded louder than ever. Some of the crew even crouched down laughing. Dylan looked at the camera with an innocent face. "I'm just a romantic improviser." The director looked at him sharply, but finally smiled. "Your romantic improvisation will be at the press conference, not now." Around 10 p.m., the director decided to give them a break before attempting a retake. I sat in the catering area, where Dylan and Bai Lu were enjoying a hot drink. Dylan sat back relaxed while staring at Bai Lu. "Do you realize? Whenever I want to be serious, you always make me laugh." Bai Lu raised her eyebrows. "Did I make you laugh? You were a stand-up comedian." Dylan chuckled. "Maybe it's because when I see you smile, I forget we're filming." Bai Lu just shook his head while laughing a little. Classic reason. But from the way he lowered his head, everyone knew Dylan's words were not entirely joking. At about 10:30 p.m., all crews returned to position. The air is getting colder, but it adds to the romantic atmosphere at the location. The director stands with his arms crossed. "Okay, Dylan, Bai Lu. This time please don't joke. If it works, we can go home sooner." Bai Lu smiled as she glanced at Dylan. "Don't fail again." Dylan nodded. "Yes, Captain." The camera turns back. This time, the atmosphere was different. Dylan was totally focused. His gaze was gentle, calm, and deep. Bai Lu also seemed to dissolve in character. They approached slowly, the distance getting thinner. All the crew held their breath. I didn't dare blink. And when the moment is a few centimeters away, Dylan slipped forward a little. Their noses collided with each other, and Bai Lu spontaneously let out a small scream. Instantly, everyone laughed again. The director patted his head with the script. "I gave up." Bai Lu looked at Dylan with a laugh. "You can't be serious for a minute, can you?" Dylan looked at him while holding his nose. "I'm serious. But the floor is slippery, not my heart." Laugh again. It was a real romantic comedy night. After all the laughter around 11 p.m., they finally managed to complete the scene perfectly. No laughter, no improvisation, no bubble tea. Only a warm look, gentle movements, and beautiful silence. When the director finally said, "Cut. Perfect," the entire crew applauded. Bai Lu looked at Dylan with a small laugh. Finally, Dylan nodded with a satisfied smile. It can also end without laughter. But before leaving the set, Dylan had a quiet whisper, loud enough for me to hear from behind the monitor. "But honestly, I prefer the failed version. That's where you're most beautiful." Bai Lu simply shook his head and patted his shoulder while smiling shyly. And I, who see everything from afar, can only say in my heart, well, these two people don't just have chemistry on screen, they also have an incredibly powerful magnet in the real world. unforgettable night. The night ended with a warm atmosphere, even though the air was getting colder. The crew began to tidy up the tools. The lights began to be turned off one by one, but Dylan and Bai Lu's laughter was still clearly audible among the sounds of steps and small talk. As a person who witnessed it all firsthand, I can say, the kiss scene that night may fail time and time again, but their chemistry is only made more apparent by those failures. Sometimes, in the world of filming, the best moments are born from unplanned things, laughter, spontaneous jokes, or just small mistakes. And that night, I felt lucky to be a witness when two big stars made everyone forget that they were working. They are not just actors and actresses who are playing roles, but two individuals who infect each other with passion, laughter, and warmth. Dylan with his spontaneity and humor, Bai Lu with his elegance and sincerity. When I looked at the monitor screen for the last time that night, I realized one thing. Although they failed to take many times, they have created something more beautiful than the perfect scene, a night of laughter, warmth, and real love without the need for words.